In a meeting with a client the other day, they asked me, hey, do you have any good tips for us as to how we can best negotiate the home, assuming that we're looking for real estate that might be a little out of our price point, but really gets us excited? So we're gonna take the whole budgeting thing, set that aside for a second, and I'm gonna tell you the two things that I told them in regards to how to negotiate real estate like a pro. And so in today's video, we're gonna walk through those two things. It's really simple, and my goal for you is really simple. My goal is to get you away from negotiating from emotion and how you feel about the deal, and helping you get to a point to when you go into negotiation for a real estate transaction, you actually have a playbook for success, so that if the negotiation doesn't end in your favor or you decide to walk away, at least you can do it with your head held high. Now, what is the goal of a negotiation in any real estate deal? It's really simple. It's a series of steps or processes that allow both people in the transaction to win. You don't win a negotiation when somebody else loses. And I know this is kind of hard to grasp. A lot of people think like, don't worry about the other side, just go for the kill, do whatever you can to get the deal. There are some times when that may be a strategy you'd want to do. If we can let the other people know that they won just as much as we won, we tend to walk away from that negotiation like feeling really good about it. And more importantly, the deal continues throughout the entire process without any significant roadblocks. I've been in this business for over 20 years. And I've seen way too many negotiations fall apart over the dumbest things. In fact, the other day I was at dinner with a friend of mine, more of like a business acquaintance. He's in a different market, not here in Southern California. And he said that him and his wife were in a negotiation for a real estate deal, and they're super bummed if the deal fell apart at like the last second. And I said, hey, if you don't mind me asking, like what happened? He goes, oh, we were pretty much like $12,000 apart, and the seller just wouldn't budge. And I said, the seller wouldn't budge? He goes, no, can you believe it? I said, well, why didn't you guys budge? And he goes, oh, we were at our limit. And I said, well, maybe the seller was at their limit. He goes, yeah, it's just unfortunate. And I said, how long do you plan on staying in this home? He goes, could be as quick as 5 years, could be as many as 15 years. By the way, his current home, if he's watching this, he'll probably send me a text. They currently own the home for, I think, 17 years right now. In 5 years, in 7 years, in 10 years, you are never going to notice the difference between 10, 15, 25, maybe even upwards of $50,000 that you paid for that home. Unless you're in like the $300,000 to $400,000 range, you're definitely gonna feel it then. But if you're in Southern California and you're negotiating a deal over $1 million, I can tell you right now, in 7 years when you go to sell that home, that $10,000 or $20, $30, $40, $50,000 you were apart, it's probably not gonna make that big of a difference. So the number one, like the pre-part to number one that I would remember is that if you get to a point and the home is the right fit, it's the right neighborhood, it's the right school district, like every box is checked, and the only thing leaving you from getting a deal is a few $1,000s here and there, I would just take the deal. Okay, so strategy number one, I want to be really tactical with you guys with this, and I wrote this down on a piece of paper just to further illustrate how important this is. And strategy number one is never be the one, never be the no in the negotiation. Never be the no in the negotiation. What I mean by that is every time that you get a counter, whether you're on the buyer side or the seller side, this is more coming from the buyer perspective than it is the seller, although I will make a video in regards to negotiation tactics for people that own their homes. We'll probably do that next. Never be the no, and what that means is that every time that you get a counter back, rather than get super emotional about where the seller is, because remember, the seller has their motivation and they have all of the memories in that home, right? You have all the motivation to move in the home and the memories you have yet to create. Those are two totally different perspectives when coming into negotiation. But you as the buyer, we never ever want to be the no in the transaction. So if you give an offer and they counter and that counter offends you, doesn't matter how offended you are. Number one, I wouldn't get offended, but if you do get offended, because it does happen, always respond to every single counter quicker than the time frame they give you. I'll give that to you again. Even if it's just going up $5,000, always respond to a counter quicker than the time frame that they give you. That's going to demonstrate that you're super serious about buying the home and that you're trying to keep the deal alive, right? We'll talk about like the gap in the middle and why I think that is a disastrous way to negotiate. I'll give you a strategy to fix that in strategy number two. But I would always recommend two things as it boils down to this. Number one, we are never the no in the negotiation. And number two, all negotiations are always on paper. All negotiations are always on paper. I've had so many conversations in the past with other real estate agents that say something like, hey, if you give me an offer below this dollar, like just don't even waste your time, don't submit it. And I said, really, why is that? Oh, the seller just won't take it. Okay, why won't they take it? Oh, because it's just not worth that. Okay, that makes sense. You would be surprised at what a buyer or a seller would sign when the only thing between them and a transaction, like a successful deal under contract, is a signature on a piece of paper. Everybody can be a hero verbally, right? Like when we have verbal conversations, every agent says, no, that's too low. Every agent says, oh, there's multiple offers, or we're expecting multiple offers, or every agent says this home's gonna sell super quick. I need to get you in there really quick. Those are all just words. At the end of the day, the only thing that can create a deal are not words, it's words on paper. So every time you write an offer or respond to a counter or give a counter, I wanna make sure you know it should always be on paper and it should always be in good faith to keep the deal going. Again, don't worry about how far you're off. Don't worry about, like, some people say, like, I don't have patience. That's okay that you don't have patience, but understanding that some of the best deals that we've ever done in real estate take 5 to 7 counters. And that's okay. You shouldn't be frustrated. We're not wearing each other out. Sometimes it just takes a little bit to get the other side to realize, like, hey, we're close to playing ball, but we're not really there yet. It should not matter how many counters are on a contract. Yes, it can take a while. Yes, if you don't move quickly, there is a likelihood or a chance that somebody could come in during the negotiations and accept the deal or write a deal that's better than yours. They could shop the offer if there's a lot of showings. All of those are really, really important. That's why it's really important to move quickly. It's really important to put it on paper. Those are your 2 best insurance policies to making sure that you get the deal if you want. So never be the no in negotiation. Don't ever lose a deal over a few $1,000s, and make sure it's always written on paper. All right, let's talk about strategy number 2. This one's a fun one. This is where I think a lot of people go wrong. I want you to remember something. Most people think they are really good negotiators, but in reality, most people are terrible negotiators. They negotiate based on how they feel that day. The level of anger and fear of missing out guides their judgment. And so I don't want that to be you, right? We hear all the time when people want to price their home, they're like, hey, I think the home is worth X, but why don't we list it at X, higher, so we can leave room for negotiation? That is a terrible strategy. It doesn't work. It's never worked. It doesn't work in today's market. I wouldn't do it. In fact, the same type of strategy I see a lot of buyers do as well. So let me give you an example. Let's say that we have a home that you're considering, it's on the market, and it's listed for $2.1 million, okay? I'm in Carlsbad, California. That's just below our average sales price over here. So if you're watching this video and you're like, whoa, that sounds like a crazy number, the tactics and strategies behind this are the exact same. Remember, the listing price is nothing more than an invitation. It's not the value of their home. If you're a homeowner, then your listing price is nothing more than a marketing strategy, right? So if you list your home, let's say that like fair market value of your home is $2 million, right? If you listed at $2 million, chances are somebody's going to see the home and they're like, okay, I see the value. All the comps support this value. The home fits my needs. It's in the right area. Let's go ahead and write an offer. Let's take that same client. Perfect home, perfect area, perfect school district. Everything's perfect, but you list at 2.4. Now the client's like, well, I don't know if that's really worth it. Are they going to come down 400,000? I have no idea. Maybe I should just wait for another home to hit the market. So you had a ready, willing, and able buyer ready to write an offer on that home, but they never wrote the offer because they just believed you were way too far off, right? So pricing is a very, very strong marketing tactic, and when done right, it works really well. Now let me go to the opposite range. Let's say fair market value is $2 million and you list it for $1,825,000. 2 things are going to happen when that happens. Number 1, you're going to get a ton of showings because people are going to say, holy crap, this is a really good deal. We should go check it out. And then there's that second camp that might happen, doesn't always happen, but it may happen. And they may say, well, we think fair market value is $2 million. Why are they listing it at $1,825,000? There must be something significantly wrong with the home. And that's not necessarily a bad place to be either. Sometimes that causes a bunch of showings. The goal for listing under perceived market value is to cause a flurry of activity with the goal of getting multiple people that want the home at the same time who drive the price up. But we'll talk about that in another video. So let's say that you're looking at a listing, it's listed for $2.1 million. And let's say that after you run all the comps, like you think it's way overpriced and you want to end up at $1,925, $175,000 drop from the listing price. Okay. Now, a couple things that I would notice right here. If you were writing a 1.925 offer on a property that's been on the market for 3 days, that negotiation is going to be a tough offer, right? It's not going to be one that's probably going to have a lot of success, because if the agent was advising the listing client correctly, even if they believe that was grossly overpriced, what he would say is, hey, we're 3 days on market, or she would say, hey, we're 3 days on market. I think you owe it to yourself to give this at least another week or 2. Let's see what the property does. Now you're probably thinking like, hey, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. I totally understand that. And that's a judgment call you need to make with your real estate agent as you do this. But let's say that you do all your research, the home's right, everything's right, but the price is wrong. We need to get that at 1.925. This is where we want to end up. So if we want to end up here, we don't want to write that offer. Now we could write that offer and just say, hey, in the spirit of saving time, we're going to be at 1.925. We're not budging on this. If you love it, great. We'll close the deal. Everything's going to be amazing. I appreciate you guys selling us your home. If not, then it is what it is. Didn't work out. We wish you the best of luck. That is a strategy you can do. And there are times when I would educate or advise you you to do that very strategy. Most of the time, it's not what we want to do. Now, conventional wisdom would say, hey, if we're at $2 million and we want to be at 195, then what I probably think we need to do is write an offer for 1.8 million and leave room for negotiation. This is a terrible strategy. Terrible, terrible, terrible strategy. We already want $175,000 off the list price. So by going down an additional 125 below that and leaving room for that negotiation, all that's gonna happen in that specific scenario is that the seller's gonna say, hey man, maybe we might be like negotiable on the price, but we're $300,000 off. Like, is there any world of likelihood that we even can put this deal together? And in most cases, answer's probably gonna be no. So we're no longer negotiating with logic. We're no longer negotiating with realism. What we're negotiating with is the likelihood that this deal is even going to close in the first place. So my suggestion to you, if you do come across a home, it's 2.1 million, it's not within your expectation of where you want to be at the end, then what we want to do is we want to come in somewhere between 25 to 40,000 below where we want to be. So the offer that I would write in this scenario would be somewhere around 1.890 to 1.910. And we want to give them about 2 days to respond. We want this to go relatively quick. Now, we don't want to give 2 days response because we're worried about them, changing their mind, or we're trying to get a quick one under. We just want to make sure that they know, hey, we're serious. We want to get the deal done right now. And if there's an opportunity to get this deal done, like we'd like to happen within the next couple of days. We don't want to give 5 to 7 days for a response, because what's going to happen is the other agent's probably going to take that offer to everybody else and says, hey, we've got an offer for 1.925. It's too low, but we need you to come in above this and we'll entertain it, because now they have a floor to where they think those are coming up. We don't want that to happen. We want those seller to know that, like, we're not trying to steal a home. We are your buyer. We just don't know that we're eye to eye on the price that you guys are listing right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give them a couple days to respond to that. And if the listing agent is good, the first round they're going to say, hey, I don't know if they're going to come up a lot, because remember, they don't know this number. The only person that knows this number is you and your real estate agent. Nobody else knows this number. So a good listing agent's going to say, we need to give them something, right? Don't counter back at list price. So let's just come back at 2.050. They're going to put that in writing, and I know what you're going to say. Wait a second, they only came down 50,000? Like, we were way below that. Like, surely we need to bridge a gap. And the answer would be yes. At that point, your agent's going to do a phone call. And they're going to say, this is the real estate agent. They're going to say, hey, thank you so much for the counter. I just have a quick question. What is the most motivating factor of this deal for your client? Is it speed? Is it stability? Is it money? Is it like, what are they motivated by in the thing? Oftentimes they will say, hey, you know what? We gave you the counter. I appreciate you guys coming in an effort to speed this up. As long as we can be north of X dollars, and there's nothing wrong with saying that if the client gives them instruction to do this, as long as we are north of X dollars, we can put a deal together right now. And oftentimes we will call the other agent and say, hey, my client is not a buyer at 2.1, but they may be a buyer at a different price. What number do we need to be at today to get a deal signed in the next 24 to 48 hours? And oftentimes the seller will give an agent permission to say, hey, as long as we get, this number right here or north, we can do it. And the agent can say, like, I can't give you the exact number, but I can tell you we need to be north of this number. And you're like, well, if they say 1.95, wouldn't we just give them 1.95? And the answer is maybe, but there's no guarantee they're gonna take 1.95. Also, if it's a very competitive home and another offer comes in during the negotiation process that you're going through at a better price than you get pushed out, right? So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So what we want to do is we want to come in, $10,000 to $40,000 under that price. We want that first counter. We're going to do that first phone call, and then we're going to get to as close of this as possible within that next counter. And we're going to tell the other agent, hey, I talked to the client, everything's going really well. Rather than going back and forth a lot with counters, I can tell you right now, their number that they need to be at is 1.925. And if your seller's willing to sign today, we can go into escrow. I'll deposit all the money. We'll start the contingencies tomorrow. We'll get this thing closed in 30 days. We want to create some level of finality to this negotiation. Now, this may take a couple times. It may take 2 or 3 times. That's totally okay if it takes a couple times. But if we can get it done in under 3 counters, I think that's going to be a really good negotiation for you. The other thing that conversation is going to happen when we create finality is that oftentimes the listing agent or the seller will give us finality as well. And they'll say, oh, I appreciate the 1.925. I talked to my client. They do think you guys are the right buyer for the home, but they really need to be at 1.96. Cool. Now we got our number, right? And now it's just a decision between you, your finances, and how important this home is to you going forward. Keeping in mind, every time you submit an offer, then there's a counter, then there's a counter, then there's a counter, and then there's acceptance. All of these should be written. We should write every single one of these because, again, like I said earlier in the video, you'd be surprised at what people would say no to when it's verbal and what they would say yes to when it's on paper. It's really important in situation number 1 or strategy number 1 and strategy number 2 to try as hard as you can to leave the emotions out out of the negotiation, especially as a real estate agent. So if your real estate agent calls you and they start saying things like, oh, this other agent's terrible, they did this, and they're kind of getting on your side and showing their frustration with the other side, that means the real estate agent is probably a little too emotionally connected to the deal. It's really hard to get a deal done when there's emotion involved. If you have the playbook in hand and you say, hey, we're gonna go in and here, I'm willing to do at least 8 counters to get there, because look, in 2 weeks, it won't matter how many counters you sign. It won't matter how big the contract is. It won't matter how happy the other agent is, or how frustrating they were, or how friendly the seller was, or how frustrated. In 2 weeks, all of this will be forgotten, because now we're dealing with inspections, appraisals, loan contingencies, like all of that's like none of that matters, right? This is 1 to 2 weeks of real estate negotiation hell that we have to get through. And then it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. So keep in mind, none of that will matter. Even in a few days, you'll forget the entire thing. There is almost, I say almost, there is almost no such thing as a very simple real estate transaction. It doesn't exist. There's complications to every deal. I've been licensed since 2007, probably over 1,000 transactions between me and my team since then, and I cannot remember, like maybe a handful of deals where it's like, whoa, that like I don't even really feel like I did anything for those deals. Most deals, it is a fight to the very end. We don't want to make this any more complicated than it needs to be. So establish the playbook ahead of time. Know what your number is. Don't come in way under that to leave room for negotiation. Make sure everything's on paper and be super transparent with the other side. Remember, the goal of a successful negotiation is when both people win. It's not everybody keep their cards close to their chest and don't say anything, poker face. Like, that is a strategy. But at the end of the day, if the homeowner wins and if you win, what you're going to find is the closing for that property. Hey, it's going to be super joyful. There's going to be a lot less stress when that happens. And more importantly, when it comes time to negotiate anything in the inspection report, if this was really frustrating and you grinded them out for every single thing and now the agents are frustrated, when it comes time to do the inspection, if anything huge comes back and we have to go and negotiate either a repair, a credit in lieu of a repair, or some level of like a home warranty or something like that, you're hurting your ability to get that done, because all that money that you negotiated right here, you're going to give all that money back because of that repair, because they're no longer excited to work with you. So a transaction wins when both people get what they want. It's our job as real estate agents to uncover what those motivations are and get that for you. Strategy number 1, make sure you are never the person that says no. So it doesn't matter what counter they give you, always respond back. Always be the one that says yes. Always make the other person say no. Even if somebody comes back and says, let's use this scenario really quick. If you want to be at 1925 and you got counter 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of a sudden you get this email from the listing agent, or your agent gets an email from a listing agent, and they say, our final and best offer that we're going to do is 1940. Just because they say their final and best offer is 1940, and we wouldn't recommend doing this a lot. There are times we wouldn't do, does not mean that you don't counter. That just means like, hey, I appreciate your final and best offer is 1940. We thought about our final and best offer is 1920. And I understand this may not be a deal. If it isn't, we understand, but we felt the need to give you guys some transparency and to know that we're only a little bit apart. At the end of the day, we're always the ones saying yes. We want the other side saying no. And if you can do that, you can walk away from every negotiation with your head up. The second thing is make sure that if you're going to come in under, we keep everything under paper, and you try to come in really close to under where you want to be to shorten the gap of negotiation, so that when we go through the closing process, nobody's frustrated and we can close on time and with ease. I'll leave you with this. In 2 weeks, how you negotiated won't matter. In 1 month, what you paid for probably won't matter. In 5 years, financially, you absolutely will not feel the difference in $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Do not let these deals get away with you and blame it on the other side. If it's that close and you said no, that's on you, right? So I love you all. Hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Let me know have you ever done a real estate deal that has not gone your way and you felt guilty about it or frustrated, or it was the one that got away? I hear this all the time. I have multiple clients in the past that dug their heels in. No matter what we do, they just wouldn't change. And every home we saw after that was like, oh, this isn't as good as that home. I'm thinking of one client where I literally said, we can literally get in the car, go back to the office and write the full price offer on that home that you want right now and be done with it. And they both looked at me like I was crazy. And at the end of the night, they called and they said, do you really think we can go back to the table? I said, absolutely. It was just a price thing that fell apart. And we did. And it was the best decision they ever made. Don't get emotionally tied to the numbers in a series of years. Unless you're far apart and the home is grossly overpriced, we don't want to do this. If you're close, take the deal. Trust me, if it's the perfect home in the perfect area, close to work, in the right school district, it'll be worth your time, all right? I love you all. Have an amazing day. I'll see you on the next one.